Devashis.
Yes, Maharaj.
Well, I'm late, but what are you going to do with these renegade colonies?
Exactly, yeah. You just have to grin and bear it.
Yep. But not all's bad. We did give Trump to the world.
Indeed, yes. Source of great amusement.
Huh?
A source of great amusement.
Maharaj.
Dhanyavad. Falguni Gorachandra.
And Britney Spears too. Please don't forget Britney Spears.
Look at, este es el poder latino. Estamos tomando el mundo entero.
Slowly, slowly, you see? Like, I see that now we're speaking more Spanish in our classes than ever.
Yeah. Yep. And Saraswati. Saraswati.
Dandavat, Maharaj, Dandavat.
Dhanyavad Saraswati, you're supposed to get a certain number of English-speaking people to come to this Zoom program. What's happening?
Don't know.
Don't know.
We have all Spanish.
Huh. Just see. Who else is here? I got to see the whole gallery view here. Gallery, okay. We have SCS Mod. Who's there with you? Oh, there's Lavanya Moi. And who's next to you, Lavanya Moi?
This is Ananga Manjari. Dandavat.
Oh, Dhanyavad. She looks like she got older.
She's very grown up girl.
Yeah. There's Pandita.
Mm-hmm.
Dandavat,
Tungarasa.
Maharaj.
Dandavat, Maharaj.
Tungarasa from Norway. Huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Dandavat, Maharaj. Nice to see you.
Dhanyavad. Well, how is everything? Bhagavan, ¿cómo estás? No hay
By the
sonido.
grace of our rules, grace, Maharaj.
All right.
The vision is very beautiful. All the way. What to do? Very good. It's the very festival now.
Okay.
Janardan. Happy life.
Janmashtami. Isn't that tomorrow?
You want to continue? So tomorrow will be Radhastami.
Next is Radhastami, Lalita Saptami, and Radhastami.
Yeah.
Oh, Mahamantra. ¿Cómo estás? How are you?
I'm okay, Maharaj. I'm happy to see you.
Where's Krishna Mohini and Shyam Sundari?
They are around, Maharaj.
Oh, there they are.
They're out there.
Yeah, they're there now. I see them. But what's that? It says Saraswati Devi Dasi, and then I see Krishna Mohini and Shyam Sundari.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Are they in London? What's happening?
Dandavat. I'm in Spain at the moment, Maharaj.
Oh wow! Did you get kicked out of London?
Yes.
Okay, I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, we had many nice festivals, celebration. Lots of devotees came. The anniversary festival. We missed you, Maharaj, for the festival.
Yeah, for me, it would have meant joining the festival at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I know we miss your presence here. I mean, in London.
What?
Next year, hopefully.
Yeah, I have to be in London. I'm not going to get up at 4 o'clock to attend the program.
Maharaj, we had some sad news today. My mother passed away today.
Really? Where is your
Please
mother?
give your blessings.
She's what?
She passed away this morning at 2 a.m.
And where does she live?
in Venezuela. So it's a little bit of a shocking news for us.
Yeah, of course. How old?
Didi, I'm very sorry about this.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know.
85 years old.
Okay.
Oh, my deepest sympathy.
Thank you, Didi. She had 12 children, and she was fine, but
to my mind, most of
all of a sudden she was not so well, and she just went very fast.
12 children. Wow. Big family.
Yes.
Your brothers and sisters all lived in the same house?
Yeah.
Wow. Pretty crowded, huh?
It was a big house, a farm.
It was what?
A farm.
Okay. Nice. It's nice to have a big family like that. That's very nice.
So I guess I will do some Vaishnava Seva in her name.
Yeah. By the time, when will you be back in London?
On the 7th.
On the 7th. Oh, so you'll be back in time. Well, actually, was your mother initiated?
No. She was very devoted to Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think, I don't know how this thing works. They always say with 11 days, but then it seems there's no 11-day limit for anybody. It seems like for devotees, it doesn't have to be 11 days. For people who are not devotees or initiated, it doesn't have to be 11 days. I don't know what the 11-day thing is all about.
You have to be a Hindu for the 11 days, I think.
Do you know, hey, Devashis, do you know about, I know with Govinda Mars, we did it with 11 days, but I heard that with the Acharya it doesn't have to be 11 days. Then I heard with persons who are not initiated, it doesn't have to be with 11 days. With devotees, Shraddha is not so important as feeding the Vaishnavas in their honor. Where does this 11-day thing apply?
I think it's just a sanskar, isn't it? So there's considered some period of impurity in the family, but that doesn't apply to Vaishnavas actually.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Besides, it's true. I have a few scars. I have some scars.
Yes. But the 11th is a Saturday, so it's a good day for us to have a festival to feed the Vaishnavas in her name.
Yeah, I think that from what I heard from Govinda Mars, that is the most important thing, to feed the Vaishnavas in her honor.
Yeah.
You can do a Shraddha for her also, Saraswati. You can offer food to Mahaprabhu, and then you can offer, and especially, well, Govinda Mars made the comment with the family. He says, would the person who you're making the Shraddha for, would they take prasadam? Would they eat prasadam? Did your mother did she like to eat prasadam, or did she accept it, or?
She loved it. She loved prasad. Whenever I visit her, she will only take what I cook.
Okay, so then you can cook for her, you can cook and offer to the deities, and then you can offer to her prashadam, and you can do it 11 days afterwards, which would be actually, I
The
think,
11th.
yeah, I think the first day counts as the day she passed away. I think that counts as one.
Yeah, it's after 10 days. So that's why they do it on the 11th. It meant to be 10 days, and then from the 11th day you can do.
So when did she pass away? Which day?
Today, early in the morning, like 2 a.m. Venezuelan time.
So today is
the 1st of September.
Yeah, so then it's pretty easy to calculate. It will be on 10 days from today, will be on the 11th.
Yeah.
And on the 11th, you can offer her some prashadam. If you like, you can read from the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. You can read from there. Maybe read the translation of the verses. Since she's Spanish speaking, you can read it in Spanish. Although probably as a jiva soul, she can probably understand all languages now. But I don't know. And you can read it to her and read her from the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. You can read her, and you can offer her Mahaprashadam. And the very important thing, according to Govinda Maharaj, is she'll make a feast and feed the Vaishnavas in her honor. Now, as far as the feast goes, your festival is held on Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, and well, let's see. The 11th, what day of the week is that?
Saturday.
Oh, Saturday. Perfect. So then you'll have a big number of devotees that you can offer them prashadam in your mother's honor. And that will work good. She can take the Mahaprashadam. You can read from the Bhagavad Gita, and you can feed the devotees in her honor. How's that? Is it okay, Saraswati?
Good. That sounds good, Maharaj.
Okay. Sounds good. Pandita, where are you?
I'm at my flat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you working or are you in school?
I'm the perpetual student, but I'm working. Yeah, so I just finished work. I work from home now.
And are you a student of anything?
Bhakti yoga?
I mean, in the university. Some devotees are taking classes because they pay them money to go to school. And I don't know what's going on.
No, I don't go to school at the moment, but I like going to school.
I thought of a good slogan for Corona beer. You could say, it's the virus that makes it good. What do you think?
I'm sure that'd go down very well, Maharaj. Yeah. We'll get on to them straight away before somebody else thinks of it.
Yeah, should patent it. Yeah.
Maharaj, can I ask something?
Dandavat what?
Dandavat. Can I
Oh.
ask a question?
Yeah. What did you want to ask?
I want to ask if we can do for somebody who passed away for some time ago. Can we do something for them?
I think the best thing you can do is you can feed the devotees in the honor of that person.
Yes, but can I offer make some offering, monetary offering
To the temple?
to the temple? Yes.
Yeah, you can do that so that they can pay for. You can pay for the boga that they're going to purchase to make for the feast.
Yeah, because I don't have any devotees around me.
Don't have any devotees, then how will you feed the Vaishnavas in that person's honor if there are no devotees around you? Maybe
Yes,
you'll send some money to the temple.
Okay.
Is
But
there?
how we can I? Is it mentally I can pass it to this jiva, to the soul? How is it?
Where? Who's the person you want to?
It is my mother, also.
Okay.
She passed away just some hours before Acharya Maharaj passed away.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So she passed away. She passed away then on the 10th of May.
It was late 9 because Acharya Maharaj, he passed away on 10th and early, and she passed away like in the end of the day on 9th of May.
She passed away before Acharya Maharaj?
Yes.
Okay.
It was like some hours before, yes.
Okay.
I was hoping that it is some connection that he maybe can hear Sankirtan or
maybe you can work out something also with the London temple. Maybe they can do in her honor, and you can.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they could combine that program of your mother with, I don't know. You can speak to Saraswati what she wants to do.
Yes, she was not Vaishnava, but I told her about Krishna, and she chanted Hare Krishna with me sometime on Skype.
Would she eat? Would she take prasadam?
No, she didn't have any connection. I couldn't see her personally for the many years.
Oh, okay, so then I don't think you should offer prasadam to her because Govindamar said if the person's not going to wouldn't take prasadam normally, then not to offer that person prasadam.
Okay, but she
But you can feed the Vaishnavas in her honor.
Thank you. It's nice to hear that it is something possible to make for her.
Yeah. Maybe they can do it on a different day. They can do that or something. Or they can do it. You talk to Saraswati, whatever Saraswati decides.
Yes. Thank you.
Or yeah, like that.
Yeah,
or could do with Devashis. He's in a different temple.
Yeah. I will ask them.
What else is going on? Any news? How was your festival for the anniversary of the West London Temple?
It was really super. It was absolutely super.
Yeah?
It was beautiful, yes. Very happy festival.
Did many people come?
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, over 100 people came. And that's, at the moment, people are generally still afraid because of the COVID. So that's a lot of people, I think, for, considering that some people are still too afraid to come to gatherings. So yeah, it was very nice.
Yeah. We had nice programs here for Janmashtami and Prabhupada's appearance. On Janmashtami, I read the first 3 chapters of the 10th canto. And those were actually translated by Prabhupada, so it's very nice. I just read the translation. And then yesterday, which was the Nandotsov, then I read from the 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which was very nice. And since yesterday was a lot of, songs about Nityananda Prabhu and talking about Nityananda Prabhu, because Srila Prabhupada was very much related, like Guru Maharaj said, but my own experience was that Prabhupada was very much related with Nityananda Prabhu. Because I remember when I was younger, many of my sannyasi godbrothers, they had deities. They had deities of Gaur Nitai and Nishringadev and all kinds of deities were there. And I once asked Prabhupada, should I worship a deity? I really didn't want him to say yes. I wanted him to say no, but I just said, should I worship a deity? And he said, you're a sannyasi. You don't need to worship a deity. But he said, if you like, you can get a picture of Nityananda Prabhu or a Panchatattva, and you can carry that picture with you and worship that picture. So, he did say Nityananda Prabhu specifically, and he said or Panchatattva, which to me is, gives a similar inclination there. So, anyway, for me, it was nice to have both Janmashtami and Nandotsov. And whereas with Balaram Purnima was nice also, because we're hearing about different things like from the Garga Samhita, Balaram's Pranam mantra that Govinda Maharaj quoted. You know that mantra, right?
Yes.
I don't know it by heart, but I was reading that. And something from the Garga Samhita also, and everything was very nice. I thought everything was, especially like you would say, super, really good. I was very happy. We had a lot of devotees here from Salt Lake City too.
Nice.
Now they're going back by car. Many of them, they already left it 4 hours ago by car. It was 7 in the morning. But they have to go on a route that goes practically through Lake Tahoe. And then Lake Tahoe, there's this huge fire burning there called the Caldera fire or something. Calder or Caldera, I forget which. Fire, big fire in Lake Tahoe. Of course, we've got all these, I'll just, rather than deal in political divisions, I'll just say conservatives who claim that there's no climate change, which seems to me one of the most absurd, stupid considerations that I've ever heard in my life, that there's no climate change. Like all around me, everywhere I look, I see change of climate. and to say, oh, this is all just happening coincidentally. Coincidentally to what? But anyway, so be that. I don't particularly care. That's the way that's kind of like a little bit the story of my life in a sense, people constantly they want my opinion on complex problems, and I'm willing to give an opinion about any kind of complex problems, whether my opinion's right or not. I don't hesitate. I'll give an opinion, but if it gets to a certain point where my involvement or my thinking about it doesn't change anything, then I'll just shift to another gear, so to speak. And I think I can live to be 120 or however long I live, but I will never become a conservative. I'm not conservative about anything. Now, I don't want to offend conservatives. Are any here? Well, you don't have to raise your hand.
We have a question from Tungarasa. I don't know if she wants to ask herself. She sent it to me to ask you, but because she said she was going to be working this evening.
Yes.
So Tungarasa, if you're there, do you want to ask the question, or shall I ask for you?
You can ask for me, Prabhu.
Okay. So she says, where are we? Does the jiva have an inclination for prema bhakti, or is it within the jiva originally, as we are the eternal servant of Krishna? Then does he or she have this propensity for devotion within the soul?
Of course. How can we not have an inclination for devotion if we're the eternal servants of the Jiva Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das? We're eternal servants of Krishna, and we have to take jiva lessons from Mahaprabhu and Gurudev. Like people who get a driver's license, they have to take some driver's ed classes. So we have to take jiva ed classes from Gurudev, and we have to take them from Gurudev and from Mahaprabhu if we're going to come to the level of understanding what it means to be a servant of Shishi Radha and Krishna. And Govinda Maharaj has commented that all of Vrindavan is existing for the service of Madhura Ras. Now, I don't want to speak about all these elevated topics that fools rush in where angels fear to tread and all that. But still, that being said, everything is meant, all the other rasas exist as serving factors for the highest relationship, which is the service of Shishi Radha and Krishna. And that is what all of existence is about. Because if you want to speak about, first of all, what is material existence? Material existence is like a shadow existence. And there are many things on the material level that are actually a shadow, or as sometimes some terminology that was used, a perverted reflection of reality. So, obviously, loving loving relationships, if you know, with certain quote marks around loving relationships. They exist on this material level. Nobody can deny the existence of loving relationships, even on a mundane level. Otherwise, what is the relationship between a mother and her child? Now, Saraswati is talking about her, mother wanting to do something for her mother. Everyone will feel that. I would even think that in all species of life, such an inclination will exist. Is that possible?
Yeah, well, in a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah.
there's some mothers that eat their children, isn't there? But
Well, yeah.
those are the rare exceptions.
Well, some spiders and all that, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean the mother doesn't love her children. She wouldn't just eat any children; she has to eat her own children. So. Anyway, it's natural too that mothers eat their children because there's an overpopulation in this world. No, strike that comment. We don't know if there's an overpopulation in the spider world or anything. But obviously you can understand that loving relationships do exist in this world. And I remember, which I've mentioned, one person who's very intelligent. He wrote about the Taj Mahal, where he took his mother to visit. And he said, of course, the Taj Mahal is just a monument or a mausoleum of a king for his wife. And that in this world, there is no such thing as love, it's all lust. And I commented like, oh, but you took your mother there, and did you took your mother there, I would presume that was as a loving relationship that you feel for your mother. So you cannot, on the one hand, say you took your mother to see the Taj Mahal, but the Taj Mahal is just a monument to lust, and that's all that's existing in this world, because by your own statement, you've contradicted yourself by saying that you took your mother there. Why did you take your mother? Is that all lust? Obviously, there's an inherent contradiction there. Would you agree or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I say that loving relationships do exist in this world. Then why shouldn't we say that the jiva has a natural inclination to prema ras? Why wouldn't we think that? Why wouldn't we consider that? Why wouldn't it seem like that if we're all eternal servants of the Lord, and every relationship of service to the Lord is serving as, regardless of the rasa, we can say as supporting, like what do they have in a play? They have actors, but some actors in supporting roles, right?
Yeah.
Even actors in minor roles, their role is to give some credence, some backing to the central proposition of the play, right?
Yeah.
Well, the central proposition of the spiritual world is the Radha Krishna Leela, Radha Krishna relation. We cannot think of Krishna without Srimati Radharani. Then, of course, everything I can think will be that their relationship of prema ras must be inherent for those souls who can go through actual development. It will come naturally. But, of course, of course, we can say, somebody can argue, oh, but we're from the Tatastha plane. We're from the Tatastha plane. Yes, but the Tatastha plane we may be coming from that plane, but that doesn't change. That doesn't change there our inherent, quality as jiva souls. It's not that the jiva soul is always related to the Tatastha plane, right? There obviously are, that's, part of our premise, that by the development of devotion, one can be like the figure of Gopa Kumar can be welcomed into the spiritual world. Is it not so?
Yes.
So one would think. Now, of course, I wouldn't say that I'm speaking theoretically. I would say that I'm speaking on the basis of, what's the word, of some natural sentiment that comes to mind. Sometimes we receive some kind of communication with the divine plane, just like somebody can have an instrument like a vina or like what's the other one that Ravi Shankar plays?
Sitar.
Sitar. Well, the sitar and the vina, they all have resonating sympathetic strings, right?
Yeah.
And those strings are not actually played, they're not actually stroked, but they vibrate sympathetically, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying what I'm speaking of may not come from actual realization, or maybe some partial realization, but because there's producing some sympathetic vibration in my consciousness. Not everything is going to be completely foreign to us, I would hope. Of course, if somebody would say, are you saying you're advanced? I would say, definitely not. Definitely not. I'm a conditioned soul. I'm a fallen soul. That is my inner feeling. But that I have not heard or felt something, maybe something I felt. Maybe it's like a dog wags its tail or something, I don't know, for some kind of approval. But there's some kind of natural inclinations, I believe. So you can ask, is Tungarasa, is she still here? Looks.
I am here, I am hearing to you, listening
Okay.
to you, Maharaj. Yes,
So,
very nice explanation.
okay.
Actually, this why I asked that. This I have heard the opposite statement from one elder devotee, and just I doubted about this, and
He
wanted
what?
to. I doubted. I did have a doubt. I was not one devotee who said the opposite, that this prema bhakti, or prema at least, or bhakti, this devotional mood, or devotion itself is not inherent in a jiva, that it is that we have to get it out, like outside. It is not within the jiva.
Well, somebody could make that argument, saying that not all jivas are related with Krishna Lila. Some are going to Vaikuntha, to the worship of Lakshmi Narayan. And maybe somebody could make an argument in that behalf. Then how can you say everyone is inclined to prema bhakti when not all souls wind up on the level, but I would say, and I mean, there could be given some argument in that behalf, right? That
Yes.
not everybody is inclined to the worship of Shri Shri Radha Krishna, but I don't know. It seems, and maybe what I'm saying has a certain amount of speculative value in it. So maybe somebody could argue, well, what about so many souls? There are so many souls that are living, more, that are inclined to a more Aishvarya Gyan and all these things. So how you can say everyone's attracted to Prema Ras. So, okay, maybe that's true. What do you think? Anyone have a comment on this? Does anyone have a comment?
I think I mean there is a school that of thought that the prema bhakti isn't inherent in the jiva. It has to be adapted to the jiva. But I think what you say is a more satisfying answer. Actually, it's just that there must, because we find in everyone that there's a propensity or a necessity for us to be loved and to love. Everyone has that. So where does that come from if it's not inherent within our soul?
Well, isn't the propensity of love? Couldn't it also be said that a propensity to love is existing between those persons in the Vaikuntha planets?
Yeah, I mean, it's even their worship, although it's Aishwarya, it's a type of love. It's not spontaneous love like it is found in Goloka Vrindavan, but it's still love. It's, you can love somebody and also be in awe of them at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, just like, just like we also hear that when Daruka is fanning the Lord, he hates sometimes the ecstasy that causes him to tremble and drop the fan. So apparently that formal Aishvarya Gyan worship doesn't preclude the existence of ecstasy.
Right, yeah.
And also what would be the nature of ecstasy if it doesn't involve love? Okay, but somebody could say, well, so somebody could say, well, is that does that mean the existence of prema bhakti in Vaikuntha? What could you say about that? I mean, I don't know if it would be called prema bhakti per se, but
well, it's not the full gamut, is it? But that's only found in Goloka Vrindavan in relationship with Krishna. But rasa itself presupposes love, doesn't it? Even Shanta rasa is, you can say like a passive adoration, but still there's some love is involved in that.
Yeah. And were it not so, then I would say, why is it that Lakshmi wants to participate in Krishna Leela? We heard that.
Yes.
And what is it? Who is the father of Gopal Bhatta Goswami? Is Venkatabhatta?
Yeah, Venkata Bhatta, yeah.
And he gives many he protests a little bit when Mahaprabhu asked him, and he says, oh, but this does not imply any unchasteness of Lakshmi, because after all, Krishna is more or less, he defines it as a sporty model of Narayan. Indicating there's something there that you may not find in Vaikuntha, and Lakshmi wants to taste that. But he says it's not unchaste of her, because Krishna and Vishnu are non-different, he says. And Mahaprabhu is quick to say, yes, I didn't say there's anything wrong on her. I didn't say anything there's wrong on Lakshmi on her part. I didn't mention anything wrong of her desiring that. I just asked why she was unsuccessful. Now that's a better question as to, well, is it inappropriate for jivas in Vaikuntha to feel some vestiges of prema bhakti, but then why they cannot successfully enter into the worship of Goloka Vrindavan? Or what causes them, in the words of Guru Maharaj, to be thrown down to Vaikuntha? If, from the perspective of Guru Maharaj, he's saying that.
Yeah.
Thrown down to Vaikuntha.
I think we would have to resort to the stock answer of my priest when I was a boy, who, when we would ask any difficult questions like that, he would say, "It is a mystery, my son."
Yeah, that's what the priest told me in Bogota when I was in the airport. And he said, it is a mystery. And I said, it's a mystery. No doubt it's a mystery, but it's a mystery to you, not necessarily to anyone else. Or to
everyone else.
Yeah.
Not to everyone.
Like when they say that someone commits a cardinal sin, doesn't repent, doesn't go to confession or repent, and then they go to hell. And then when I asked, how long does hell last? They say it's eternal. And I say, well, it's a rather shaky proposition. And I've lived to be 12, 14 years old and then die. And I've done some cardinal sin. And now I'm in hell for eternity. And then how can we consider that God is all love and God is all, if this flagrant, vicious 12-year-old will be thrown into hell for eternity. How can we think that? And he said, oh, it is a mystery. And I said, it's a mystery to you, but we don't accept it as a mystery. We just accept that that's not true. Right. But I didn't say that. I said, it's a mystery to you. It's not necessarily a mystery to us because we don't. Now somebody can say when I'm on a spit being rotated like in a rotisserie in hell, and they could say, "You see, I told you." But when I mentioned that point to Govinda Maharaj, he did say, "Well, lack of faith." Going to hell or something. Although sometimes I think I bought a ticket for there, but I don't know. I hope not. I hope. But anyway, so it does seem rather okay. You mentioned mysteries, and that was in relationship with what else? That I wouldn't have thought of that being a mystery, but what did I ask you that you said? That you coined that phrase, it's a mystery.
How the devotees of Vaikuntha are unsuccessful to enter the devotion of Krishna in Goloka.
Well, I would think that maybe they spent too much time following Vidhi Bhakti. Is it pronounced Vidhi or Vaidhi?
I think it depends where you come from.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I still believe that the propensity towards prema bhakti hopefully will have some relationship with the soul. I'm putting.
I have another question, Maharaj.
I'm putting chips on that.
I have another question from A Anonymous.
Oh, A Anonymous is back.
Yeah, back.
Can you ask A Anonymous what the A stands for? All right, so what is...
So the question is, in the nectar of instruction, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially is stated. Having experienced, I guess just experienced, a 2-day festival, I came to hear from other aspiring practitioners of Krishna consciousness that large gatherings of people in these types of festivals they encounter can overwhelm their solitary and sensitive nature or conditioning. These feelings tend to be amplified more so in mob-like crowds outside of devotee gatherings, leading to a fear of places or situations involving the general public. I heard that Sridhar Maharaj expressed a similar sentiment about large crowds of people. Quote, I get besides myself, end quote. In your 40 plus years of experience of being exposed to mob-like crowds within festivals and in general public non-devotee association gatherings, have you managed either your own or other devotees' anxieties about this matter? Or how have you managed either your own or other devotees' anxieties about this matter?
Fear of large... There are a lot of people do have a fear of large crowds. I've experienced that. My only qualms about these big festivals is that they, I mean, this is a very personal feeling, is that they offer too many varieties of prasadam there, and you can't actually sample them properly. It would be better if they offered many different preparations to the Lord and then just made 5 or 6 really super nice things to give to the devotees in quantity. That would be my feeling. But apparently they try to put hundreds of preparations on your plate or something, and it's overwhelming. So in that sense, I would have, but that's not from the mob. That's just from the intense devotion of the devotees. And I would think that there's usually more of a mob in the kitchen than in the temple. But anyway, that's just a personal feeling. No, what is the idea that has this led to a fear of mobs or something like that?
I don't know. I think some people who just have an introverted nature, they find it difficult when there's so many people around, so many devotees around, overwhelming, perhaps.
I don't, well, maybe I don't have it so much an introverted nature in some ways, and I find that having a lot of people, it may not always, but often leads to some very nice kirtans. And devotees be ecstatically dancing and singing, and I find that very, very wonderful myself. And people join in Sankirtan, and sometimes the kirtans go on for a long time. Now, of course, we can say that sometimes Westerners, they don't know how to behave themselves, and that can lead to some raucous behavior in the kirtans. But I don't mind that either. I'm a Westerner, and I am also quite raucous, so I can go along with that as long as it doesn't become bodily. What is the word? Dangerous. People throwing themselves through the air and things like that. But I rather like those big festivals where the devotees all come together and you see so many persons who you haven't seen for a while. And besides, I mean, haven't we already had enough? Well, maybe some people have to. I wonder if that anonymous is expressing a sentiment that is developed as during the COVID syndrome.
Yeah.
Right. They haven't.
No, I think maybe they were quite solitary, introverted type of person. In any case, they preferred, smaller groups, and which some people do. I do actually, to be fair, but I do also love when there's a big festival and many devotees come, but I also love it when it's finished, when it's over. They all go home.
No, I like the kirtans.
Yes.
And I like everyone gathering together and drinking grog.
That's the wrong festival. You're at the wrong festival, Maharaj.
Oh, that's stupid.
Maharaj, I have another question when you finish, please.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm finished or this question has finished me, but I like to see so many devotees. I mean, we had a big festival with Janmashtami. I mean, relatively, like maybe not as big as we had in previous years, but I saw so many devotees, and after being in lockdown for so long, I was actually very satisfied. And as somebody could say, well, they might say, aren't you fearful of the new epsilon variant? Does epsilon come after delta?
Yeah.
Okay, so aren't you fearful of the epsilon variant? No, because there is no Epsilon Airlines. Well, these are bad jokes, but anyway. No, I like these big festivals, and I look forward to Gaur Purnima. But also Radhastami, Srila Maharaj told me when we were collecting for Janmashtami and brought the collections to him, and I thought, I labored to collect and everything, and then he said, well, now you have collected for Krishna, but now Radhastami is coming, and Srimati Radharani, she's the head of our whole sampradaya. So what will you do for her? So that put me in my place. And I was sent out again to Calcutta to go collecting, very happily, because if you're told to do something by Guru Maharaj, you'll relish that, I think.
Sure.
I said, I think it was one of the weeks, somebody said, well, you were related with Govindam. They said, what was their favorite memory of Govindamars? And basically, it was a story that came to the part where Govindamars called me a disciple. And when he called me a disciple, that was one of the happiest times for me. There's a whole story related with that. And similarly with Srila Prabhupada, when Srila Prabhupada told me that I thought like that because I was a Vaishnava, then I felt very happy because Prabhupada called me a Vaishnava. I would have never thought of myself as a Vaishnava or as much of a disciple to Govindamars, but to be accepted by them in that way, that was very happy for me. And I don't think I will ever be, my personal feeling is I don't think I will ever be mistaken for a sadhu. That's another consideration. But to be accepted as a disciple and to be accepted as, quote, a Vaishnava, geez, that's to me happy moments, happy memories. So it gives me some hope. That gives me some hope. Anyway, I mean, why should I be fearful of crowds? Apparently, Govindamars wasn't fearful of crowds, was he?
No.
Everywhere he went, there was a crowd.
Yeah.
Well, I'm his servant. I'm his servant. So if my master likes crowds, I'll have to, so to speak, grin and bear it. And that's what I would tell Anonymous. You're a servant. If you can manage to be happy in that environment, all the more power to you. And if you can't, then seek out a wall to sit at and hope nobody asked you to dance. Is that fair? And I can say for myself, I don't know how to dance at all. So, but during kirtan, I can move around and jump and stuff like that, like a monkey. So I'm happy. As a saying, monkey see, monkey do. So I'm very happy. So Devashis, are you working again?
No, I am not, Maharaj. No.
Congratulations.
I'm now officially retired, except without the monetary side of the retirement.
Oh, that doesn't matter. That was a story that Govindamars liked. That when I was 21, I graduated from college. When I was 21, I lived in the mountains, and my parents kept on asking me, when are you going to get a job? And I told them, I'm retired. And they told me, you can't retire, you haven't even worked. And I said to them, well, now you're working very hard, is that true? And I said, so what will you do? What will you do when after you're finished working? And then they said, well, retire. And then I said, where will you go? And they said, perhaps to the seashore, or perhaps to the mountains. Typical answers,
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm 21 years old and I'm living in the mountains and I am retired. And they didn't like that answer at all. Because their premise could be true, that you can't retire if you've never had a job. If you haven't worked, what are you going to be retired? But that didn't enter into my logic at that time. my thinking was I'm retired. Govinda Maharaj found that story amusing. Like a certain level of madness there, but so this big gathering, I guess somebody could want to be reclusive from that, right? I mean, I can understand that.
Yeah.
I imagine when Lord Brahma was there and all those other Brahmas were called, and he's surrounded by Brahmas even with, what is it, 10 million heads? And they were all touching their helmets to the ground, and the sound of the helmets touching the ground sound like the reciting of Vedic mantras. But and Brahma felt like a rabbit in an assembly of elephants. Isn't it described that way?
Yeah.
Well, I imagine a rabbit surrounded by elephants would feel intimidated, right? So I guess even Lord Brahma could be fearful in a big crowd of other Brahmas, right?
Yeah.
So I can understand somebody being, you know. Now I don't find myself feeling, I don't feel threatened, or I actually feel happy when there's a big crowd for these Vaishnava holidays. Now, if I was in a big crowd of motorcycle gangs, I might not feel happy in that kind of crowd. But those are not the kind of people I want to associate with anyway. But devotees, I'm happy to see them. But I do have one comment about that, which I've said before. And it didn't come up at all in this weekend because I knew almost everybody. But I believe that when somebody brings somebody to the temple, that they said, this person knew you in Navadip in 1991. The person says, do you remember me? I feel those kind of persons should be introduced so that you don't fumble for a name, right?
Yeah.
That would be common courtesy to me, you know. You bring somebody, and they want to see if you remember. Then, if they'll introduce them, and you know what I actually experienced? There were the people who came and they were visiting here and everything, and that person, when I was informed the person's name, I actually did remember him. Although it's been many, many, many years, I could actually remember them. Although that relationship with that person wasn't one of very much, you know, didn't know that person that well, but I could remember. I could remember that person. So I feel if people come to see you, they should be introduced. Now, that's just an aside. But what is Anonymous was saying that I also heard Guru Maharaj say that he said that when people are very new and they come in contact with a mission, as much as possible, we will try to, what is the word, to insulate that person from everything that goes on around us. But he said after the person is no longer new, which to me would mean after that they've come in contact with the devotees and everything like that, then there doesn't really have to be so much exertion to insulate people. Now I can understand the need. What is it? The need to not go to, so to speak, I don't know if they have this expression in England, but I imagine so. Not to hang all your dirty laundry in public.
Yeah.
Yeah? You don't want to necessarily introduce people to everything that's amiss.
Of course.
But at the same time, I don't see any necessity to insulate people from reality. And maybe it's not the same reality as on the divine level, but it's a reality of living within the existence of a society of devotees. And I don't see any reason to insulate people from that. Now, that's not to say if somebody feels kind of reclusive, doesn't want to be in crowds. I remember one sannyasi godbrother of mine was like that. If he had to go to the prasadam hall and he saw many people seated in the prasadam hall, he didn't have actually the initiative to push himself into the prasadam hall. He would rather, if he was by himself, rather than go into a room full of people, he would retire. He would not be there. But if I took him in with me, brought him into it, then he could handle it. But he couldn't enter into a crowd himself. So I can understand there are people who really have an inherent dislike or fear of crowds. Is that? I'm sure that that's true, and I can't blame somebody for being fearful or feeling unpleasant when they're surrounded by other people. Why should I? If that's somebody's sensitivity, why should I feel offended or feel that there's something wrong with that? I don't see. So we'll forgive you, Devashis.
Okay. I must admit, actually, I do have that nature a little bit when there's really a lot of people, and like, for example, after the kirtan and everything, everyone's going to take prasadam, and I come and I have to sit with people I've never met before, and that lot just feels awkward to me sometimes. So sometimes I will just retire, maybe take something later on, rather than sit with a group of people that I don't know and they're all talking about mundane things. I'd rather kind of like slip away and not be part of that.
Yeah, but that may be true, but I also remember something that Govinda Maharaj said, and I didn't completely understand it, but he told me more or less that I shouldn't sit with people who were, for instance, not initiated when I ate.
Yeah.
Now, I don't understand exactly. I take it as the truth because Govinda Maharaj said it, but I don't understand exactly why that is so. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I think it's just I remember once when we were with Gurudev in Navadvip, and it was his Vyasa Puja we were celebrating, and he gave a lecture to the crowd. You know how it is in Navadvip, right? Like once they get wind that there's a festival going on, like everybody comes, because it's a free feed, isn't it, for them? Free feast, and well, even though it may just be khichdi or whatever, but we sat with Gurudev in his room to take prasadam. I don't remember if you were there or not, Maharaj, but he said, "Oh, I'm very bad. I just said in the lecture, I ended my lecture by saying, now we will feed all the Vaishnavas, and then the ghosts can take their remnants later." And he said, I was talking to them, that they were all ghosts, and you know, I wanted to serve the Vaishnavas first. So, you know, the
word ghost or goats?
Ghosts, boot.
Oh, boot. Well, yeah, I can. I'm just getting a glass of water because.
Yeah.
So yes, but so I could, and then when I go to sit down, there are a lot of people who always come crowd in and sit down at the table, and they would not necessarily be the people that I would normally take prasadam with. Some of the people I would like to take prasadam, they don't push forward or sit down at the table. Now it's nice to
Right. Yeah. 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 Something like that. And if I see at the table that everybody there is somebody that I don't actually know, then I'll just let them sit with their friends, and I'll go to the second serving or something. You know, I like to take prasadam with the devotees. I don't like so much taking prasadam with people. You know, they've come to the temple, so they are, you know, pious people, and you could say devotees of a kind, but often they're just talking about mundane things, and I really don't like to be there for that, you know. I mean, I remember once sitting on the table, and the guy sitting next to me on a festival day, he's got his little boy on his lap, and he's feeding him like meat from a baby's jar, you know, baby food jar. And like turkey or something it was. And I just said, you can't bring that in here. And it all became like very unpleasant. And I thought, why does it have to be like this to take prasadam? But unpleasant with this guy here with this turkey thing, you know. So, you know, then
yeah,
these things happen.
Well, I always kind of, when I was, so to speak, you know, I always experienced that one respected prasadam and you didn't really talk when you were taking prasadam.
Right. Yeah.
And then when people start conversing while you're taking prasadam, I find it unpleasant. Because that was actually, I mean, if you were with Govinda Maharaj, there was no conversation while you're taking prasadam.
Right.
Sometimes he would say, he knew that some of us, we ate quicker because we ate quicker. So Gurudev would say, he would make a joke. I would finish something, and then Gurudev said, he would like say, I'd already finished this, say, for instance, the paramana, the sweet rice. And Gurudev would say, oh, this sweet rice is incredible. And he would be like, oh, I have never eaten anything like this. And you've already finished it. And he's just saying, it's so incredible. I cannot imagine. You can't. And then he would say to me, Maharaj, you cannot imagine how good this sweet rice is. I'd already had it, but he's like making that. That's the only thing. And then one time, one devotee had finished eating, and Govinda Maharaj was still taking prasadam, and he made some comment, and that devotee said, well, oh, I don't mind Gurudev. He says, Govinda Maharaj said, I'm taking prasadam, and you've already finished, and you're just watching me eat. And then Govinda Maharaj, and then that devotee said, oh, I don't mind Srila Govinda Maharaj said. Govinda Maharaj said, you don't mind. He says, you're watching me like Paramatma. But normally he didn't. he didn't talk. And two times Govindamars especially didn't talk was when he was taking prasadam, and also when he was in a car. And people
Yeah.
always converse. People always converse. They always talk when they're traveling, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But Govindamars didn't like that. He didn't like to talk while he was riding somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
And then in some cases, people have even played lectures or tapes while other people, while the devotees are taking prasadam.
Yeah.
And I sometimes tell them, turn that off, please. Because to me, it's the same thing as why, if you're listening to a lecture of Gurudev, you don't chant japa.
Right.
Well, how can you
Yeah.
listen? How can you chant japa and listen to a lecture of Gurudev at the same time?
Yeah, exactly.
It
It
would
just
seem
becomes background music then, doesn't it? And it's actually, that's kind of offensive, actually.
it is offensive because you're not really doing either.
Exactly. Exactly, Maharaj, yeah.
So
And the same with prasadam. If you're taking prasadam, you should be taking prasadam, not trying to listen to a lecture at the same time.
maybe we shouldn't be talking because Pandit, but it's traveling very fast.
I'm just walking, Maharaj.
It seems like you're running, you're sprinting or something.
No, just leisurely walk.
The whole background is whizzing by you like you're in a race car.
No, I'm going like a snail, Maharaj.
It doesn't look like that.
I actually had a question about the honoring of prasadam, like
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can answer any questions when you're traveling at the speed of sound.
Oh, sorry,
Traveling at the
Maharaj.
speed
Sorry,
of
Maharaj.
sound. I mean, how would the words catch up with you? All right, what's the question?
Just like, what's the proper mood? What's the proper mood? What's really like? What would you say is like a really nice thing to like? What's a nice meditation when trying to honor prasadam? So if I speak from my own personal experience, I've heard Srila Gurudev say that like if we can appreciate that like, you know, the benefit and power of prasadam, then we have everything. But I know that I am not honoring prasadam. I know I need a little bit of help. So I'm just eating, basically.
See, for a few seconds, your voice cut off for a couple of seconds. I told you, you're just traveling at the speed of sound.
Would love to hear from you. What you
be the proper
yeah?
mood?
What the proper?
What should
Yes,
be the proper,
smart.
I really don't know
Yes.
exactly what the proper mood should be. I guess for me, honoring prasadam would be, lately I found I've become more of a operati when it comes to prasadam. That I don't think I can answer the question because lately, so many things that people prepare really I don't like, and I don't know what to do because I don't. Govindamars, he said that he would not want to say anything against prasadam, in the presence of that prasadam. I mean, after all, it is offered to the Lord. And there it's sitting on your plate, and people are seeing that you're just picking at your prasadam or picking at your food, as it is, as we would say, and not hardly eating anything because on a mundane level, I just don't it just does, so many things don't appeal to me. But at the same time, I would think to honor prasad, you see it as the divine mercy of the Lord that you would be able to honor prasad. But I did see that Govinda Maharaj always traveled with his own cook, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. Oh, what is that? So I don't know. What can somebody, maybe somebody interject something, because I want to be able to honor prasad, and that's why I would be sitting and I wouldn't be talking while I'm honoring prasad. I'd be with the devotees. But what do you do when you find that there's things that you can't, that just, they do not appeal to you? What do you do in those circumstances? Because I'm not supposed to be asking the question. I'm supposed to be giving the answers. All right.
Can I offer something? Is that okay?
Yes, of course.
Well, if there's something that maybe you don't really like that much, I guess it's better to tolerate it, maybe like that. I don't know if it's okay.
Yeah, I think you're right, but not just tolerate, you should be able to honor it. But what do you do when it's collective and it includes everything?
You have to start traveling with your own cook, I think, Maharaj, if that's the case.
Well, there isn't such a person.
Yeah.
There isn't such a person. Like Ramai lived upstairs with me, and I could see that, you know, he had his own disposition. His nature generally, you know, was simultaneously, he was very happy, but at the same time extremely grumpy. Now, they would seem to be contradictory, but knowing him to be a little bit like myself on certain ways, I knew that if I prepared dal, and I can't even pronounce the word dal correctly, but I would prepare dal and I would prepare it in an Instapot, and I would, you know, make about, what was it? I would make about, use split mung dal, and I would use about seven or a little more than seven parts water to every part of mung dal. That may seem like a lot to some people, right? But I like dal. That's the way I always kind of had dal in India. Mung dal would be like, you know, like that, about 7 parts of water to one part of dal, with some tomato cooked into it, and nice chaunts with maybe some green chili and some, of course, some cumin seed and cooked green chili and chopped up fresh ginger and some coriander powder cooked into the chaunts and stuff like that. And I would like the dal like that. And I heard Guru Maharaj liked, I heard when Guru Maharaj was at one time in some program in Delhi, and he said, if you could just make dal for me, dal and rice, I would be happy. So I actually heard that, and I feel like, well, if nobody can get anything else right, if they could do nice dal and rice, I mean, the rice is always nice, and if they could do nice dal, then you'd have dal and rice. And if you didn't like anything else, then you'd always have dal and rice. But sometimes it seems like there's differing views on what. That's the way I like dal. So actually, I like dal thick, but when he was with me, I didn't make dal thick. I made it like I described, and both him and myself, we would take a lot of it because couldn't eat all the other things. Like sometimes the devotees like to prepare, what is it, kind of steamed vegetables. A lot of people seem to like that, which I consider to be like rabbit food.
You'll just have to come to London, Maharaj. There's lots of good dal makers over here.
Is there?
Yeah.
Well,
Especially Saraswatis.
Oh, okay. I think Saraswati's sister, Krishna Mohini, is a good cook too.
She's very good. And your disciple Ragamai, she makes wonderful dal.
Oh. and Lavanya Moise, she makes very good oatmeal.
Yeah.
And
so there's your answer, Maharaj. You just have to come here.
Yes.
I have a question, Maharaj.
But then why do
yes. Come to London.
why do they have that joke about heaven and hell? And in hell the cooks are English.
Well, we're not talking about English cooks, are we, Maharaj? We're talking about a Bengali cook. We're talking about a Venezuelan cook.
That's true. That's true.
So there you go.
But how's it happen that you're English and you can cook dal?
It's true.
Somehow, I guess because you're, well, a different in temperament.
Yeah.
So, okay. But that's the thing. I feel that I like to, I on the one hand, I like to honor prasad and I don't like to talk while I'm taking prasad. That's especially if I'm really very happy with the prasadam. But lately, I don't know what to do when people prepare in a certain way that I don't like, then I find it. And there we had from the mouth of young devotees, like who was just speaking.
Ananga Manjari.
Yeah, she said, well, you just have to tolerate it. Yeah, well, that seems like good advice. See, from the mouth of, from the mouth of young devotees. Huh?
Yeah.
Babes, that's the proper thing. She's right. She's completely right. And Govinda Maharaj gave the example of while Guru Maharaj was watching him, where I was taking prasadam that had bugs cooked into it. Do you remember that example?
Yes, Maharaj.
That there was some flying insects that were cooked into the vegetable. Perhaps not as bad as eating meat, baby food out of a jar. But still,
right.
But still non-vegetarian.
Yeah.
It's funny, there is one devotee here who for so long was pushing. He was traveling around and promoting everywhere goshalas, right? And collecting for goshalas. And now he's speaking in favor of veganism. How does one make that abrupt change?
I know. I think veganism is a substitute for religion for a lot of people.
Well, my answer is that Krishna is is lives in a cowherd community. He's called Govinda. He's not. He's the, you know, what is it? Go Brahmani Tayacha.
Yeah.
I mean, is he not? He's not a Japanese soybean farmer. His
Soybinder.
Not that I have anything against soybean farmers. They can be devotees, I guess. But his name is Govinda. His name is not Soyvinda. That's what somebody commented. Now, I can also accommodate that if somebody tells me that they're allergic, they have health reasons for avoiding dairy products. I can understand that. I mean, you know, there are all many kinds of different conditions that one can have where, you know, lactose intolerant. So I went to a doctor once and he told me, well, the first thing you could do is try avoiding dairy products. And I said, well, does that include pizza? And he said, no, not completely, because he said pizza doesn't have so much lactose in it. And I thought, okay. And then I asked, well, does that include yogurt? And he said, no, not exactly yogurt, because apparently the yogurt's been transformed. It's not as troublesome to people who have trouble with lactose. Unfortunately, though, it did include ice cream.
Yeah, get a different doctor.
Yeah. Well,
Maharaj, time's getting on, and Gaur Chandra Prabhu is bursting to ask you a question.
All right. Why didn't he ask me before?
He tried twice.
Oh, I don't think so. All right, Gaur Chandra, ask your question.
Yes, Maharaj. Somebody asked me today about what is that? Austerities and things like that, and I wanted to hear your opinion about any kind of austerity that it can be done outside the regulations and the advices of our Gurudev in regard of the cultivation of devotion.
Oh.
Meaning, for example, fasting in an Ekadasi full day without food, or like that kind of things.
Well, if it's really a full day, gotta see if it's a full day, then I guess somebody could be foolish enough to fast the whole day, because it is a full day fast. So if it's a full day fast, then maybe fools will fast the whole day on that day. But to me, the idea of, like, I heard the story where, and I don't even know if the story is so to speak bona fide, but two brahmacharis were traveling, and well, I maybe should say this story because I didn't hear it from Gurudev, but one of them came to a river, and they were going to cross the river, and there was some woman who said she couldn't get across the river, and she asked if they could help her, and one of the brahmacharis or sannyasis, I don't know, he carried the woman across the river. And as they were walking, they walked for hours more, and then the one brahmachari said to the other, he said, well, I don't know how you could carry that woman across the river, And the other one said, well, I carried her across the river, and when I got to the other side, I put her down and put her down there on the shore. But you're still carrying her. To that effect. So as far as all day fast, you know, and not taking prasadam, I would say that if somebody's, I mean, we know real sadhus who have done that, like, you know, who have done that. But if one is fasting all day long and at the same time is consciousness is not on the actual, you know, the divine, you know, what's really happening on that day, and one is not giving full expression of one's devotional sentiment because one is either hobbled by fasting or one's mind is on food, then I would say, what is the value of that fast? Now somebody can say, oh, I don't accept your answer because there's value because they're undertaking that as a fast to serve the Lord. They're undergoing some austerity so that they can please the Lord by their devotional activity. Well, I don't know. I just feel that in the Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat, I didn't really see anybody completely fasting on Ekadasi. That was my experience. In fact, I heard Guru Maharaj comment to the opposite. Did anyone hear that?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes, Maharaj, I heard too. Gurudev said, yeah. He doesn't recommend.
So we heard it. We heard that Guru Maharaj and Gurudev commented about to the point of that it was not a necessary activity in the Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat. So it's like certain things. When I was very young, I bought a tilak stamp. You make the tilak and there's a wooden stamp and you'd stamp it on your body with the wooden tilak. And I thought that was very wonderful because it made nice tilak stamps all over your body. Someone asked me, what are you doing? I said, oh, I got this in Vrindavan, this tilak stamp, I'm using it. And then the person said, did you ever see Gurudev use that? And I said, no. And then they said, I rest my point, I rest my case. So my inclination would be to do what Gurudev spoke about as being necessary or good or favorable to devotion, and I would not accept those practices that Gurudev did not institute. Now, I'm not saying that's acceptable for everybody because not everybody, you know, there are maybe Param Vaishnavas from previous times who followed full day fast on Ekadasi. In fact, did engage in constant, we could say, if we use the word bhajan, during the whole time. So, you know, how can I say something against those persons? It's not meant to include those persons. All right. Now, Gautam Krishna, who's that? Is that Ananga Manjari? Whose hand is in the air?
Dandavat Prabhu.
Dandavat. So,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Prabhu, just need to ask you, you know, the Bengali community, in our Bengali community or non-Bengali community who are not vegetarian, yeah?
Yeah.
To observe Ekadashi for them, because we heard from our mom and dad, old style people who are not vegetarian, they celebrate, they take the vegetarian meal the day before Ekadashi and the day after Ekadashi, and Ekadashi day, they normally do Ekadashi. But now for busy life, most of the people, they can't follow that way, and that's why they stop celebrating Ekadashi. So what is the way? They can strictly celebrate Ekadashi, do the Ekadashi, or they have to go vegetarian the day before?
I don't know about those questions because I don't deal with it. I don't deal in that kind of environment. I deal with Mahaprabhu told his mother that she should follow Ekadasi, and therefore we always say that everyone should follow Ekadasi, those who are following Gaudiya Vaishnavism. But I would say persons who are not vegetarian, etc., they may have their own conception of what is Gaudiya Vaishnavism, so they could answer the question themselves. I don't really have an answer for them. I mean, in other words, if persons are following our line and following Gurudev, then they'll accept what Gurudev says about Ekadasi, etc. And maybe there are persons who have even taken initiation who don't necessarily follow all the principles. Some of them are not vegetarians. I can understand that. But all I would say is, for anyone who's following Ekadasi, it means that from that morning till the next morning, they will just not eat any grains, and that's Ekadasi. They will not eat any. They will not eat any rice, grains. Now, when I was in China, some of the devotees there asked me, "Can we take mushrooms on Ekadasi?" Now, normally I don't. I think we were brought up to really not offer to the Lord mushrooms, but when I'm in China, they eat mushrooms every meal, and then they said, or they eat mushrooms. They think mushrooms are vegetables, so they said, "Can we eat mushrooms on Ekadasi?" And I said, "Yes, why not?" Because I'm thinking, I haven't seen that mushrooms are a grain, so I said, "No, why not?" Now, if you're asking me if they should be vegetarian the day before Ekadasi, why would they come to that conclusion? Why would they think like that? Why would they think, if they're going to follow Ekadasi and not take any grains, I assume they won't take any meat on Ekadasi. Why would they think that the day before Ekadasi they shouldn't take any grains?
There is a tradition from our old Vaishnava style back home, because back home normally most of the Vaishnava, they take 2 rounds of Tulsi Mala instead of 3 rounds of Tulsi Mala. So they said the reason behind that, the people who have a 2 rounds of Tulsi Mala, their guru permitted them occasionally or on situational based, they can eat meat or non-veg things. Then the condition not applied for not like us, full vegetarian. So they want to purify.
But they won't eat cow meat. They won't eat cow meat. That's correct?
No. Normal life, normal non-veg, no cow, no pork. Normally they eat fish, chicken, everything. But they want to get purified the day before Ekadashi, because they're thinking Ekadashi is very pure things. Just make them purify. It's an old tradition.
Okay, well, I would say that you're from Bengal. You would know that tradition more than me. I'm a Saib. I'm a Westerner. I don't know anything about what is proper the day before Ekadasi or what is proper the day after Ekadasi. I just know because, I'm not eating chicken, fish. It's been a while, although I'm sure it's very tasty, but I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, if they want to not eat, if part of their tradition is not to take meat the day before Ekadasi, then fine, they can do that. If their part of their tradition is take meat the day before Ekadasi, they can do like that. I don't know what is. I don't know what.
But if they want to start Ekadashi stately the day before from night, whenever they have a meal at night, dinner, yeah, whatever, non-veg people, if they stately after their dinner, then they start Ekadashi. And
I would think if they don't take meat the night before, that would probably be a better way to start Ekadasi.
Okay. And then after the Parana, they can go back to normal life if they want.
Yeah, I don't know what is normal life so much, but
normal life is their normal, non-veg life.
Okay, well, but you are a practicing Vaishnav. You are a practicing Vaishnav, Gaudiya Vaishnav, correct?
Yeah.
So then you should advise them to become also a proper practicing Vaishnav. Now, I know that many people are initiated in Bengal. They eat fish. It's pretty common that many Bengalis, even they call that Ganga fall. So
the problem there, I asked them questions so many times because in my community only is me who is mostly Vaishnava, very rare people. Vaishnava, yeah. 309. Third floor. So when I ask them the question, the answer is common. We have a children who is eating meat. They're going to have to cook for them, for the family. So it's very difficult for us to full like a vegetarian life.
Yeah. Well, those person who's cooking for them, has some maybe duty to do. Generally speaking, it will be more of a problem for them if the woman takes Gayatri initiation. That will be more problem for them.
Yeah.
Anyway, you, from your own vantage, from your own vision as a practicing Vaishnava, you can advise them about coming more to the line of Mahaprabhu's line as we know it from Govinda Maharaj and Srila Maharaj. You can preach to them those principles. If they can't follow, then something is better than nothing. Something is better than nothing. If they want to follow from the day before, fine. That's why Guru Maharaj, when he was in Vrindavan, he said he could practice Madhukari. And he said when he came to Bengal, he could not do that. Because he said in Bengal, people are not vegetarian. Maybe people in northern India are vegetarian, but the people in northern India tend to be often very much more smarta than they are in Bengal, in the sense that they think only a person born into a Vaishnava family can be a Vaishnava. And I don't believe that. But since in Bengal there are less vegetarians, but they are more prone to join in Naga Sankirtan and chanting and singing, then I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Our mission is not really to make people vegetarians. I'm not trying to make people vegetarian. Many of our devotees in China, they're not vegetarian. But Govinda Maharaj just asked them, they must make the promise not to eat cow meat. So, all right. I still think if somebody wants to consider themselves a practicing Vaishnava, then they should try to understand Vaishnavism as it's taught by our acharyas. But if they can't do that, anything that they do, if they show some proper honor to the Vaishnavas and everything, that's good. I remember when I never really read so much the Bible, but I read teachings of Paul, and Paul was not Paul was he was trying to preach to the whole world, not just preach in Israel. So he said, when he was asked, he said, if anyone can follow like us, follow strictly. He says that's good because we need, if we can use the word apostles, that's good. And he said, if not, then if somebody is practicing and they marry another person who won't interfere with their faith, that's good. No, first he said, if they must get married, first he said, if they can become more or less brahmacharis or sannyasis, that's good because we need preachers, we need apostles. And then he said, and if they can't do that, if they get married, to marry someone of the same faith, to marry of the faith, marry a practitioner. And if they can't do that, then marry somebody who will not oppose their practice of Krishna consciousness. So if we're dealing with the Bengali community, are helpful and sympathetic and open to Krishna consciousness, but have some other propensities, all right, we'll encourage them as much as possible. If they want to observe Ekadasi the day before and the day of Ekadasi, but not the day after, well, okay. They can do that. It's more or less to kind of like, I don't know. Then maybe they can do something to help the Vaishnavas. They can help the mission. They can participate in some level. They can come to the festivals. They can help the devotees. And that's nice. So in that sense, if you encourage them, now if they want to become practitioners, become initiated and follow strictly, then I think that's good. But can't not expect everybody will do that. That's my feeling. Okay, I hope that answer is of some use, that answer, Gautam Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Dhanyavad.
Dhanyavad. Okay, Devashish, I'm signing out because it's getting late for England.
Yes, Maharaj. Always happy to have your association virtually, but physically would be good.
I also express my own feelings about honoring prasadam. So Gurudev gave the answer when he said that Guru Maharaj was watching him when he was served prasadam with some insects had fallen into it, and he didn't make any comments. He just honored the prasadam, and Gurudev was happy with that. We remember that incident.
Yes.
So, okay. And on the other hand, as I was saying, devotees, just like we're hearing from Gautam Krishna, people follow according to their own culture and according to their own inclinations, and they do as well as they can, I guess. So, meaning that there are different tastes and styles in even respecting prasadam. People cook according to, if you were living in an Eskimo community, like Guru Maharaj once said, then maybe you would be eating, what you could catch.
Yeah.
So I feel that way, and devotees I see around me they have inclinations as far as cooking prasadam that reflects the culture in which they're living. Now, I lived years in India, and I will say this, that actually I like more taking the preparations that they cook in Bengal than they do elsewhere. That's my, shukta, aloo dam, aloo posta bor, so many things. I like those.
Yeah.
They're not available in other places. People don't know how to cook them.
Yeah. So there again, Maharaj, that means you have to come to London. We've got plenty of people who can cook those things and do cook those things.
All right. Good. I mean, I can't blame them. I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able. I can cook. I can cook some things, but I couldn't cook. I couldn't cook, for instance, aloo posta. I don't think I could properly cook that.
Even our Gautam Krishna Prabhu is a good cook as well. He can cook many nice things.
Okay. But I'm very happy with simple things.
Yeah.
Aloo dam and luchi, very good.
Getting hungry now.
All right, we'll see you. Dandavat.
Jai Maharaj.
Maharaj.
Jai Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.
Dandavat Ananta Govinda.
Dandavat Maharaj.
Oh, Krishna Chaitanya, Ukraine.
Dandavat Maharaj.
Dandavat.
Happy to see you. Thank you very much for your katha.
Madhu Krishna Bhagavan, están bien? Dandavat.
Dandavat Maharaj, thank you for your answer.
Dandavat Tungarasa, happy to see you.
Very happy to hear. I was very happy.
Ramananda, you should come here and cook.
Dandavat Maharaj. Yeah, man. See, Radhika cooks nice. Aloo dam, other stuff. Vrinda Didi also. Too far. Dandavat Maharaj, thank you so much. It was beautiful. Nice.
Okay, done.
All the Vaishnavas, devotees, Dandavat, Haribo. Yeah, good.
Dandavat.